One of the most profound things I've learned in my life is that it's actually not about my hair at all. I've spent a lifetime trying to cover up who I am. And as much as I love a good external transformation, and I do, I much more love a heart transformation. Join me as I share how I work to heal my heart, find happiness, and embrace our hair. Hey guys, welcome back to It's Not About Your Hair, where we talk all things hair, heart, and happiness. You know, the podcast is supposed to be every Tuesday at 2. And in case you're diligently following along, I missed a Tuesday. And the missing the Tuesday made me want to just call it quits. And then I remembered, that's not how we do stuff. That's not how this goes around here. So it's not about your hair. Talking all things hair, heart, and happiness is about embracing the struggle. It's about talking about all the things that we wrestle with, whether it's our hair, our heart, or our happiness, how we pursue things when it's hard, how we live life together. And so I can't just give up. And then I wasn't going to film today because I don't look good. For those of you who are listening on Spotify or Apple Tunes or however you're listening, you can't see me. And for those of you tuning in here on YouTube or watching on social media, it's just all right. Like, it just is fine. So I had coffee with my best friend this morning, very early, because that's when we can meet. And I chose to walk there this morning, very early in the rain, because I was feeling overwhelmed. And do you know that that overwhelm comes in these waves that we allow to continue to pummel us until we begin to drown? And the only way that we can stop the waves is if we get on top of them and we ride them, right? So for me this morning, I could feel the pressure of the rush. And a tangible way that I can process or work through that rush is to just slow down. I'm going to touch this screen, intentionally slow down. Okay. So I wasn't going to let anything get in my way. So I put on my backpack, my jacket, packed up my umbrella, and I walked to coffee, 7:30 this morning, and I met my best friend for coffee, and it was excellent. And then on my way home, I stopped and saw a lot of people. It's amazing how many people you see at a coffee shop and walking down the street. And I realized that if none of those people were like, oh my God, you look horrible, then what do you guys care? And what do I care? And sometimes we're going to look our best when we show up. And sometimes, let me turn this camera because we're just going to keep going. Oh, my land, you're seeing the edge of my light there. Sometimes we're not going to look our best. And I'm going to turn the screen and I'm just going with it. And sometimes our camera lighting is going to be just right. And sometimes we're going to have all the things figured out. And sometimes our mic's going to work. And sometimes the editing is going to be perfect. But sometimes it's just not. And it's how we go anyway. So that was what I was thinking about talking about today, was what we do when things aren't just right. And I shared a couple of weeks ago my journey to becoming a curly hair specialist. And that was really fun. And I had a few of you reach out about that. And so I thought it would be fun to share about the struggles of entrepreneurship and the journey of that and the reality of that and the reality of keeping going when you don't want to. So what I mean about that, you guys, I'm going to keep moving this camera. So just apologize in advance if you're watching. That was driving me a little bit crazy. What I mean about that is that at any point in your life, you could freeze that moment, take a picture of it and hold it there. And that would be the accumulation, compilation of your journey, right? And sometimes we get stuck in moments that aren't exactly what we want them to be because we allow those dang waves to pull us under. And we don't realize that this is just a lie. This is just a gal dang lie. I don't have to stay pummeled by these waves. I can get out of the water. I can build a raft. I can make a gal dang surfboard, but I can do something else. besides drown in this. And I really loved sharing with you guys how I became a curly hair specialist and how that evolved. But also, I went away this last week. And for those of you who follow along on social media, that's probably how you found me. And I have my Innocence hat on. This wasn't planned, but God knows. I was invited by the owner of Innocence Organic Beauty, which is the company that I have used their products for years and now work as an educator for them, as well as have my own education as a curly hair educator. Was invited to go thrifting in Palm Springs with the owner of Innocence Organic Beauty and a few other curl friends. And it was a delight. And at first, I was like, how did I get here? Like, because we elevate, and as we should, um, we elevate people and think that they're better or different than us. But here's the truth, we're all just human beings on this journey. And so, again, freeze, click this moment in time, and you're like, wow. And some of you have said, a lot of my clients have been like, how cool is that you got to go to the owner's house, because we think, oh, she's so much better. And I definitely think she is such a treat. Joanne, if you're listening. But she's just a human. And what I realized in spending a weekend with her is that she too has a journey, you guys. Innocence, whether you know it or not, has been around since 2006 and only really become as popular as it is in the last 5 years. And so if we would have snapshotted Joanne and Greg's journey on their process to found Innocence and stopped it, they wouldn't be who they are today. And you wouldn't be impressed that I went to her house and all of those things that lead up. So the same with me, you guys. I think it's interesting because now, I'm sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. We can look at different people. I have to keep moving this camera because it's twisting itself back. We can look at certain moments in people's lives and think, oh, they have it all figured out or they got it all together. Well, here I am telling you, filming the podcast the day it's supposed to be out, so it's not going to happen. I'll see you next Tuesday at 2. Not ready, feeling like I'm doing too many things. And maybe you are like thinking, which would be really cool if you were, that I got it all figured out, because I don't. And here I am at my girlfriend Joanne's house thinking she's got it all figured out, and she's got a lot figured out, but not all of it. And so this is the path, you guys. Even today, I posted a picture on my social media of the journey, my curly hair journey, from my short, bleached, straightened hair that I used to put perm solution on, mixed with flour so it turned into a paste so I could straighten my hair down because I wanted to look like the girl from the Cranberries. And then on to when I was trying to embrace my curl and it was short, and I used to put it in these twisty knots because I thought I looked like Lauryn Hill from the Misunderstood album. I mean, just the journey, right? And then it was, oh my God, this is a sabotage. Then it was bleached, and trying to figure out how to have stringy ramen noodle curls. It just is a journey. And so that is life, you guys. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an adult transitioning into a different stage of adulthood, whether you're just at your job or parenting, wherever you're at, and you're looking, this is a conversation my husband and I had yesterday. Something about human nature causes us to look at other people when we don't want to just look at ourselves. And we do one of two things. We either belittle other people to make ourselves feel better, or we elevate other people to make ourselves feel worse, which are both just stupid. And I've talked about this, and this is what the podcast is ultimately about, that you were created on purpose for a purpose. Psalms 139 says that he knew us before he formed us. You have a special plan. And I'm going to go back to that every episode. I believe that every episode has the same underlying current. You're worthy. You're worthy of the journey. You're worthy to be here. Whether your makeup looks right, whether you don't have any on, whether you have your hair done or not, whether you picked out the right outfit or not, whether you're sucking today at your job. So let's go back to that. So my entrepreneur journey started very young. My best friend and I went to beauty school together, and she left. We worked at a salon where we were wild because we were young. And so they separated us on our work shifts because we were too rowdy and we were 18, and it was about the size of a single wide trailer or double wide trailer. And so our boss separated us because a lot of the people didn't want to listen to our wild stories. And so Jamie took another job. I keep moving this. I'm going to apologize for the editing of this, but we're going anyways because this episode's about not having to worry about the perfection. If you're listening, you don't know what I'm doing. And then Jamie took a job as an educator for Artec, which is a brand that I don't even think is around anymore. And she left. And I got pregnant. Lord have mercy. Not by her, by my husband. Very young. And had to just find some stability. And in those days, I was still depending on $12 walk-ins to pay the bills. And my husband was detailing cars for $8 an hour. We weren't married. We were just kids. Anyways, it was great. The good old days. And Jamie decided she didn't like traveling, doing hair anymore. And she called me and she said, I'm going to open my own shop. Do you want to do it? And I'm going to tell you the story because she's always been braver than me. I had lunch with her, or breakfast, coffee. I had coffee with her today. And I'm feeling nostalgic because I'm so thankful that I've had my husband and my best friend really since forever. But I met Jamie in 8th grade like I met my husband. We really became dearest friends at about our junior year. And anyway, she called me. I'm going to open a shop. You want to do it? And I'm like, Jamie, because I'm still remembering us as wild. I'm like, I can't just leave my job and open a business. I have a baby on the way. I'm a real person now. I can't be living this life of freedom. And she was like, you're crazy. We could do really good. And I'm like, no, I didn't believe it. And I still struggle to believe that about myself. Do you see how that pattern's still showing up? I'm much better, but the pattern still shows up. So she did it. She went in with a guy named Chris and they had a shop and she was killing it. And it wasn't fancy. It was a tiny little shop, was not fancy. And she was doing a great job and people loved her because she was cute and fun. And she was, as she has always been in my life, consistently encouraging, Casey, you should come. We should do this together. So finally, a year after she opened, Chris left and I went in and we used a couple of broken nail tables as our stations because I was terrified to spend money. The coolest thing that I bought at that shop, you guys, and I'm not lying, I went to Staples and bought one of those calculators that my accountant used that had the big roll of paper with it that made all the clicking noises because I wanted a cash register. Isn't that awesome? And I had a desk that I used for my cash drawer. Probably what I thought was awesome, the most awesome. And it didn't even have heat. There was a space heater on the wall and we loved it. And it was just the two of us. And we hired two of our friends from high school to be nail techs and we did our thing. And it was great. And I was scared. And I was scared and Jamie was brave. And we were growing and busy, busier than I thought we could be. And then another building came available and we decided to expand. And we expanded and moved into our second location, Hairpiece. And from there, we added 7 hairdressers, I think 2 or 3 more nail techs, massage therapists, pedicures. It was quite amazing. And I was terrified again when that opportunity came. Jamie was the one who was brave. Casey, we should do this. And I said, no, 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 no. We need to stay safe. I have a daughter now. I have bills and responsibilities. And she was always more willing to get uncomfortable. And she drugged me. I said, fine, we're doing it, but we're going to use used equipment and all these things. I might have shared this story before, but every time you'll get a new detail because that's how I am. And so we did, and we grew, and it was really exciting time. And we had a lot of people that wanted to work for us, and I felt too cool for school in that location, you guys. And then as that space grew, I didn't really know how to be a leader or an owner. And so I just kept kind of bossing people around, which doesn't go super well, but people put up with me. And we had a fire. It was the craziest thing. There was a fire, it was arson, actually, not our space, but the apartment upstairs. And we lost our salon overnight. And I was horrified. at the fire and the loss of life that was there, and also of all that I thought I had built, because I thought it was the stuff. I want you guys to catch this message as we go through the theme of this story. Uh, our salon rebuilt in 3 days. Our insurance company said they'd never seen it. We rented a bunch of old office spaces and rebuilt our salon in about 7 office spaces. Girls were doing nails on the floor. It was not nice, but we were building out a new location and we just needed to get up and running. And the way that team pulled together to make that happen was absolutely incredible. And I learned in that moment that we're not defined by the fires. We're defined by how we, as the phoenix, rise above the ashes. It's how we get back up when those setbacks. So I was absolutely beside myself. We had lost everything I thought was important. And then I realized, watching my team of women rally together in my community, I have to keep turning this, rally together to create this space. And then our clients kept coming, because it wasn't about the building, although they loved a fancy bathroom, and we did have really fancy bathrooms, and they loved a beautiful location with brick walls. They would come anywhere because it was about the relationship that they had with their stylist and with the people in their commitment. And I thought that was beautiful. And then we built a new location, you guys. This time, 15 hairdressers, 7 or 8 nail techs, 4 pedicure rooms, 2 spa rooms. I had my own office in this one, really cool, very bougie, felt super fancy. And we grew fast and we grew hard. We won a national award for 3rd salon in the nation for salon design. Like it was a time. And I also lost my entire staff in that season of my life. So snapshot, Jamie and I made a decision that we thought was going to benefit our team, and we didn't have the I don't want to say support, maybe support from the team that we thought we would. And over the next year, they all quit. And I had built this huge salon believing that it was foolproof, right? Like that's why you do these things, because you think you're going to be successful. And as everyone quit, I remember my entire identity crumbled, literally, because I had already been afraid, as we talked about in the beginning, you guys, afraid to make these decisions, afraid to even open the one salon. And now what I began to believe as things began to crumble and people were leaving was that I had always been right, that I wasn't good enough to do this, that we shouldn't have taken the risk, because I quit looking at what had been successful, what was working, what did work. And I had a lot of people were like, you grew too fast. They had a lot of opinions because now I don't look successful. Snapshot, right? So we take these snapshots in time, and maybe you've been here. Maybe you've had a moment in your life where everything looked like it was failing and you just quit. You just quit because the pressure of what others were thinking about you. Because remember, we either build people up and we idolize them, or we tear people down because it makes us feel better. And so we do that to others. We also do it to ourselves, and we believe others are doing it to us. And I went through a really dark season where I reverted back to some old behaviors of believing I wasn't worthy or lovable or worth sticking around for. That was a big lie that I had and still have, is that I tend to believe that I'm not. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm so sorry about this. I'm just going to have to look at that ring light. My editor's going to hate this. That I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of people sticking around. And so that old pattern of behavior came back into my life. And then we rebuilt another salon, Smith & Voss salon. And I'm going to move this one more time, and I'm going to apologize so much for those of you watching. There, good, I think we're here. So Smith & Voss salon. And this time we're like, we're going to do it right. We're going to have a team. We're going to build slowly over time. And it was beautiful. And we did a lot of things. And again, it was successful. But I had lots of people quit there too over time. And I just saw a really amazing curly hair stylist who must have just had a salon walk out on his page talk about the salon owner's journey. and that if you're in this business long enough, you will have had people leave. And I was just feeling the pain of that, because leadership can be lonely and isolating because people don't know why you're making the decisions you're making. Maybe you've never been a manager or a leader, but if you have a family, you know. Just last night, I ticked off 2 of my kids in one swoop. And my husband, who is, we've talked about this, a 9 on the Enneagram, he just wants to make things peaceful, asked what I did. And that hurt my feelings. But I'm getting wholer, you guys, so it doesn't last as long. But what I said, I'm parenting. And parenting is a lot like leading, and it can hurt your feelings. But it's okay, as long as you know what your path is for your family and your team. So sometimes people aren't going to align. You can't kick your kids out, but you can continue to lead the ship. And not that I didn't do anything wrong in those years of business ownership, because I did lots wrong. But I learned and I grew and I made mistakes. And some people stuck with me and loved me through it. Some people left and were like, "Listen, I'm out of this nutty ship." And all along the way, not only did other people's opinions of me stop me from how I wanted to show up, but I attached them as my truth. And I believed that I wasn't able to keep moving forward. But my best friend, Jamie, has always been braver than me. And she said, "Casey, I think that it's going to be okay." She would always say, "What do you think?" And optimism she would bring forward out of me. And she would say, "We're doing these things really good. And as long as we keep believing in it, people will come." And she was right. And they kept coming. And then we opened City Suites Salon and Spas in the middle of owning our big salon, because we saw the demand, which I will say is one thing that Jamie and I have done well through the years of business. There's lots I've done not well, but we've been able to pivot when the industry's changing. So that's a thing you need to know. Don't get stuck in your way. I read this thing one time that Blockbuster went out of business because Netflix approached them and they said, no one's ever going to do that. People are going to stream. And Blockbuster was the biggest at one time, but they didn't pivot and they lost everything. So for us, we've been able to pivot. I've been in this industry since I was 16, so almost 30 years. And, it was all about the big salon. It was then about team-based pay. It was about hourly pay. It was about assistants. And now you're seeing the salon industry, the micro salon. Here's the thing. It's always changing. It's never going to stay the same. So being able to pivot and not get stuck in your ways. And so we saw the need, like, listen, we think that there's a need for this other idea. And salon suites were new when we did it about 10 years ago to Michigan. So we opened salon suites while we also manage the salon. And I'm going to tell you the journey of that. That's at flipping empty. We had one girl, my girlfriend Dee Dee. She is still with us to this day. She's a bright light in my life. The Lord has brought bright lights in my life. She was our first tenant, and she was there alone for almost a year. We built out 19 salon suites and had one tenant. And don't think for a minute that doubt that plagued me at our first salon years before wasn't still ever present in my mind. What have you done? You shouldn't have taken this risk. Look at you. But I've had people in my life and God all along the way that have said, you're good. This is going to be fine. Because if we don't ever put our faith into action, we'll never see God's reaction. Okay? If you don't put your faith into action, you'll never see God's reaction. So he delights in us. And that sat empty. And then we had another tenant, and it was like 2 tenants, 2 years. Still not cutting the cheese here. And then we're still trying to run the other salon, and the industry's changing. We used to have tons of assistants, and they'd work for us and stick around and work for peanuts on the dollar. And they don't do that anymore. Young people have woke up and they want time off, and they want to have freedom, and they don't want to work every weekend to build a clientele, and they don't want the lives that we had. They want something different. Excuse me. And that made me mad. That made me very mad. And I'm going to be honest about that. And do you know that when something's making you mad, it's probably because you're afraid? So anger is a side effect of fear. And I didn't realize that until years and years after closing my big salon. So first it made me angry because I said things like, this is the way it's always done. Why don't they want to put in the work? They're lazy. It's not true. They were woke up to the reality that you don't have to burn yourself out to be successful. You don't have to give your whole life to your work and have nothing else. But because I couldn't see that, I decided I no longer wanted to own the big salon, even though it was finally successful. I had decided this no longer worked for me. I needed to let it go. And I really wanted to focus on curly hair, which was where our story landed last time. Um, was how did I become a curly hair specialist? And that's woven to 2 episodes ago. You'll have to watch. But I really wanted to move into the salon suites and just focus on that and take some time to heal because I was angry. I was angry that the salons I had owned and run, I couldn't see them as the successes that they were because I was holding on to the image of myself as a failure. And I couldn't see all that I had learned in the 20 years of owning that salon, those salons. I couldn't see all of the beautiful people that God had brought into my life. I couldn't see all the lessons that I had learned. I was just like looking for evidence, as I did in the very beginning, that I was not making wise decisions, that I wasn't good enough for these challenges. But not anymore. Not today, Satan. Today, I stand before you with a lot of the same doubts, but they don't control me anymore, you guys. It's so cool. And I know how to slow down the thoughts that screw us up. A, because of my faith in God, who allows me to believe that there's something, that my life isn't just about me. So when I start looking at myself too much, I got a god darn problem. And when I start thinking that everybody's thinking something about me, I'm getting too much into my ego, right? We all have a little bit of ego. And I have to realize that most people don't care about me. Not in a mean way or a bad way, but they just don't care. No one's like staring at me as I walk down the sidewalk and wondering why I look the way I do. It just isn't real. And so they're not doing that to you. You're okay. And then only through taking time to heal and step back from things that looked successful. We've talked about this. So in all of those snapshots, I could have snapshotted any of those moments where my salon was failing and people are like, you're a failure. Then rise up out of the ashes like the phoenix, and the second space is better than the first. And people are like, oh, you're a success, hand clapping, applause. And then it doesn't work again and someone leaves and, oh, someone quit again. Oh, failure. And then back up. Oh my gosh, look at your salon. It's so successful. Back up. And then back down, back up, back down. This is life. This is life. We're not on this straight shot up. We're continually moving through the ups and downs, but we get quicker at the ups and downs. So now, fast forward today, I am living into my dreams, but I still have lots of ups and downs. I do this podcast for fun because I love it, because I love to talk to you. So why would I quit doing it? Self-doubt. You got to get out of here. You can't hang out here. Second, my husband and I bought a business in Bay City together. First time I've done something without my best friend. She says that's not true, but I always depended on her to be braver and carry me and do the work. But I let her rub off on me this time, and my husband and I got brave and we did it ourselves. And guess what? It hasn't been all rainbows and sunshine. When clients ask me, how's the Bay City Salon Suites going? Well, it's awesome. And we have some really awesome girls there, but it's not my community. I'm not fully invested. It's hard. There's work. It's an hour away. All the things. Is it still glorious and great? Absolutely. But you could snapshot a moment and say failure. Or you could snapshot a moment and be like, oh, these guys are serial entrepreneurs. It's however you choose to speak about yourself or see yourself, or just the fact that you're creating opportunity every day of your life for abundance. Whether that's abundance of lessons, abundance of love, abundance of new pathways, abundance to heal. It's just a process, you guys. And here we are today. We need the people around us to be speaking life to us so that we feel braver, but we ultimately need to believe in ourselves along the way. And we need to give people, I have shared this before and I'm going to share it again, maybe every episode, permission to change, permission to get up out of the ashes. We need to be cheerleaders instead of booers on the on the sidelines. We need to be willing to help people up because that's what people need at the end of the day. And that's what you needed today. And that's what I needed. I needed a fresh perspective on the journey of life. And here I am today, getting ready to launch another new thing. But these aren't my ideas, you guys. They're just things, well, they are my ideas, but I believe in them. God gives them to me and I move forward in them. And at some point in time, it can look like a failure because it's not as successful. And then at one point, it's going to be really successful. And then one day, you're the owner of Inner Sense Organic Beauty, Joanne, and you are looking to everyone around you like you have it all figured out. But just like anything else, we're all at different stages of figuring it out. And although we may have one portion of our life a little bit together, there's always going to be another portion that's not. So I hope today this encouraged you, that you go out without your hair and makeup done, that you take that one step towards the thing you've been wanting to do, that you're not afraid to lead your life in the direction you want it to go, because you're worthy of that. Trust your inner sense and get out there and do something. And remember, as always, my beautiful friends, if you are not where you want to be today, remember tomorrow is a new day. That if you're not feeling okay, that you know tomorrow's a new chance. That you can fight the waves, take that surfboard, get on top, and get out of the struggle. I believe that you can. I guess this is where I ask you to subscribe to my channel, to follow me on social, and to listen wherever podcasts can be found. And join me every Tuesday at 2 as we unpack how to heal your hair, your heart, and your happiness.